Hello and welcome. Today we'll be working on a bed that was used as an overwinter carrot storage, which didn't work, but we have to prep it for the new year. We actually did get a couple of harvests of carrots out of this bed during the winter. There was a heavy mulch on top of it to protect it, and we did have a mild winter, but towards the end we did get a bit of a deep freeze, and once the carrots froze, that was it. They were done for. Once things started to thaw out, we removed as much of the mulch as we could and then put plastic over this cover to create a little greenhouse. It still took a really long time for the ground to thaw out enough to work with. These frames are 9 feet by 3 feet and they're kind of wobbly when you try to move them. So before I took the frame off of the bed, I added these brackets to all the corners to help stabilize it, and it did make quite a bit of a difference. I could feel that just moving it over. A little over half of this bed still had carrots in it before we had that deep freeze hit us. And the cover has a mesh, and so snow was getting through. The one side where you can see more mulch still there, that side got less sunlight, so it was more frozen, and we had to wait for that to thaw out and take out more mulch little by little over time. Once I started loosening the soil, I was expecting to find, the usual weeds, roots, and that sort of thing, and mushy carrots. What I was not expecting was a whole lot of tree roots that were just growing enthusiastically up from underneath the bed. They were coming from a Chinese elm that's just a few feet away. We have other types of elm as well, but only these ones are a problem. In the spring, they drop billions of seeds. They literally smother things. There's so many of them. But I did not expect them to have invasive roots like this. In our garden last summer, we actually had them growing into grow bags from below. I was not expecting it to be in this bed, though. Here you can see some of the roots that I pulled out scattered all around the edges. This whole job ended up taking at least an hour longer than I expected it to, simply because of all those incredible tree roots and fighting to get them out. You can see how the sides of the bed are bowing out where the boards are joined together. So part of my job, along with the weeding, was to move the soil away from the sides so that I can attach cords to the supports on each side and pull them together and straighten the sides out. This is something I had done on another bed previously, and how I did it was I attached a couple of screw eyes to the supports in the walls and then used mason line and something I don't know the name of, but a tightener to pull the sides together. What I did not expect was for the eye hook to get yanked right out when I was trying to pull the sides together and tighten it all up. There was no place I could attach the eye hook back into that piece of wood over there, so I had to attach it to the board itself, and it actually seems to be strong enough to hold it. The cord I'm using here is multiple lengths of mason's line, and I use that to pull the sides in from the hooks to the fastener in the middle. And once it was all tied off, I made it nice and neat at the ends, and I also used the thing in the middle that I can't remember the name of to tighten it a little bit more. Once the sides were pulled in, I could put all the soil back where it belonged, and it was time to add some sulfur to it. We're trying 2 different types of granular sulfur. Our pH is 8 or higher. My meter only goes up to 8, so I don't know the actual pH that we have. And so I have to calculate how much to use in this bed. The bed is 27 square feet in total, and calculating it based on what's on the package, it basically came out to about a couple of tablespoons of sulfur, which really doesn't seem like much at all. I eyeballed the amount on this and just poured it into a container. They look a lot like lentils, don't they? It looks like even less after it's been scattered across the bed. It had to be worked into the top 6 inches of the soil, which I did with my gloved hands, and pulled out more weeds in the process. After it was all worked into the soil, I watered the bed with rainwater, as rainwater is also slightly acidic and we could use all the acid we can get for our beds. Then I covered it with the cover again because, well, I didn't want cats getting into it. Here you can see that on the one side, part of the wall is actually bowed out ever so slightly, but not where the sides were pulled in. On this side, you can see that the wall was actually pulled in more than the other, and the problem is actually not where the wall was being pulled in with the cord. It's actually at the corner, which is breaking and falling apart. I think at least 3 of the 4 screws holding it together have broken, and so it just sort of pivoted at the corner. These beds were all made out of scrap wood that we found, I forget, in the barn or the garage or something like that, and they were salvaged from someplace, so they were starting to rot already. And I mean, they're not going to last long. We know these beds are not going to last long, but we do the best we can with what we have. And there we have it. We've got another bed prepped for the season, and this time we are finally able to start doing something about our high alkalinity. Thank you for watching.